Alright guys, welcome back to the pod, back to Tomboy Official. I'm up, it's late, it's after midnight, can't really sleep, so I decided let me just do this recording real quick, because I forgot to do it earlier this morning, because I kind of got into some stuff, and then just totally forgot till it was later, so here we go. I wanted to talk about a potential money-making topic. Again, no clickbait. It's more for educational purposes. Can you make money with a Shopify store? Now, let me just tell you up front what you're going to need for your store to be pretty much how most people would recommend starting out. So usually what you need is a .com domain name that you can get from GoDaddy.com or Namecheap or wherever you can buy domain names. So you want to search for, well, first you actually need a niche, and you need kind of either a product that you've already chosen or like a general store in a certain niche that's popular, like golfing or I don't know, beauty supplies, different types of sports, gaming, like for video games, electronics, those topics, usually you're going to have new stuff coming out. Usually people who are into those types of things are generally going to stay interested in them and keep buying stuff for their hobbies or their interests. So those are some of the popular niches. They're not the only niches. I think sometimes it's good to go with what you actually know versus just trying to follow a trend and like, oh, this toy on TikTok is really popular, so let me just, run up a store about this bouncy ball or something, like, or a fidget spinner or something that is just trending for like a while pre-holidays. But that's the note right there. One of the best times to try to start, which is also a hard time and a competitive time, but October, November are good times to start. People begin their holiday shopping process usually around Thanksgiving. So we have Black Friday, which is the Friday right after Thanksgiving, because Thanksgiving's always Thursday, and then you have Cyber Monday, which is the Monday after Black Friday weekend. Now, a lot of stores, as we know, for quite a few years now, have been doing Black Friday deals throughout the month of November. Like, you see them weeks and weeks early nowadays. But from what I've noticed from selling things online, there appears to be a bit of a dry spell after the new year, because people are no longer traveling, people are no longer really wanting to buy gifts for a bunch of stuff. The next holiday isn't until like Valentine's Day, and not everybody really cares about that too much. It really is like a one-day thing, and there's not a lot of variety of what people give each other for Valentine's Day. You're probably not giving somebody golf clubs for Valentine's Day. You're probably not giving somebody, the newest PlayStation for Valentine's Day. Those kind of gifts are for other holidays, like, Christmas, your birthday. You're usually not getting those types of gifts for Valentine's Day. It's more like jewelry, little like trinkets, kind of like something to say that you care about somebody, candy, flowers, anything that's like a candy flower or stuffed animal or something like that. Tickets to something, some kind of event, vouchers or gift cards to go somewhere. Like, usually it's not one of those holidays where people are buying like a whole bunch of stuff. And if they are buying stuff, it's like one thing for like one person. Usually it's like people aren't buying things for their whole family for Valentine's Day. So I wouldn't really count Valentine's Day as a huge impact for selling online. Um, but there's some impact there. If you're targeting American customers, Americans consume, And so generally that's kind of where you want to start thinking. Now you can do a lot of detailed research there, but one thing I would recommend is either go with a niche that's already pretty popular. Just kind of use your mind, think about what you see when you're online a lot. Sometimes it almost helps to have access to like ads and stuff, just because you see them more. I know it is kind of algorithm based too, so whatever you watch, the ads are going to target the stuff that you're watching, but not always, not like 100%. All right, guys, so I kind of got a little interrupted, so I'm finishing this the next morning. Uh, so yeah, once you've kind of figured out what your niche is going to be, you really do need to research. I mean, there really is a whole method behind all the madness, but I guess what people don't usually mention, some major themes that I've noticed people don't usually mention, is the complexity of things. Like, you hear people online who aren't maybe too skilled with things. Now, I've had better luck off like OfferUp and eBay. Um, I find, promoting a Shopify store to be not the hardest thing on earth because I can drive traffic to it, but as far as finding products that people want to buy and will buy off of the site, you know, one of the major issues is the shipping times. If you don't have like some kind of storage place for the products, either off site from your house or like in your house or something, it's a little bit hard to, you know, get the shipping at a fast time without actually buying a whole bunch of products. Um, the whole appeal of drop shipping is that you don't have to buy a bunch of stuff in advance. So now I have talked before about how it is that people can use stuff from Amazon, buy something, and then the return is super easy. Now, I kind of think it's a bit of a, how do I explain this? It's controversial. It's controversial to order something that you know you're not going to keep. Um but also the way I see it, Amazon, a lot of people's Amazon stores are basically drop shipping. Either they have an Amazon store where they're drop shipping stuff off of AliExpress or these types of sites. Like, that's the whole way that most online stores in the US make their money. They have a product or multiple products that they know people want to buy, and they buy them somewhere cheaper and they sell them for a profit. So, for example, I'm not saying this is an example you have to use, but for example, if there's something like, say, if you're in like the fitness niche or something, and you notice that your local CVS has C4, which is a pre workout powder, or I don't know, they have beverages and all kinds of stuff. But, say usually a container of that is maybe about 25 bucks. I don't know. It's usually between 25 and like 30 bucks or something. But say you find it for uh buy one get two free. And so you're spending 25 bucks for 3 of them instead of 25 bucks for one of them. And you see that at the store they have only 6 remaining. So you can spend 50 bucks on 6 of those suckers and basically sell each one for, the usual $25 plus whatever it is for shipping. So for the first 2, you're going to lose a little bit on shipping costs. But then for the next 4, you're basically profiting just about $25, maybe a little less. Let's say you're like with shipping and everything. Let's estimate that you're paying. I mean, we'll make it a lot. Let's say you're paying $10, 10, not $10. Let's say you're paying $10. You're probably gonna pay less than that, but let's just say if you need like packing materials and insurance, and if you consider how much maybe the site you're using cost you, you know, and you have to consider tax and everything. So let's say $10. Um, you're getting $10 profit per um item, so you're breaking even on the first 2, and then not $10 profit, but you're getting, if you're selling it for $10, sorry, if you're selling it for still $25, but then you have an expense of $10 for the shipping, that means that each one you're profiting about $15 per. So your total profit is like what, like 60 bucks? Um you've profited 60 bucks off of 6 items. Now you can't really repeat that if it's like a once in a time one time thing. Like, what are you gonna wait for the C4 to go on sale every time it goes on sale? Maybe you could do that. But if you don't really know like when it's gonna go on sale, you can't just keep buying it at $25 and selling it online for $25 plus shipping, because you're losing, like, say $10 shipping every time or whatever. You're basically losing money at a certain point. So you don't want to lose money. And so one issue that people don't really tell you is the sourcing, like where they get their items. There's a little risk involved. The risk is sourcing items, and there's this kind of fine line between, competing with Amazon Prime. Because if people can search what's on your store and go to Amazon Prime and find the same thing for either cheaper or like a buck or two more, but they're going to get it, by 4 a.m. the next morning, why are they going to wait 11 or 16 days or 20 something days for your product if it costs the same amount, right? That doesn't make any sense. People would rather pay the extra like $2.99 or whatever it is on Amazon Prime plus all the little tax and everything. They'd rather pay the extra few dollars to get it by before the sun comes out the next day than to buy it from you. So I would say, you know, one strategy is to almost always try to compare with Amazon Prime. If you're not competitive with Amazon Prime, um, you're probably gonna have a really hard time with stuff. You got to be a little bit competitive with Amazon Prime. That's what I would say. Um, and that's hard to do, because most of us don't have ability to do like overnight shipping without paying like a fortune for it. And so usually what you're going to have to do is post items on your own store cheaper than what people can buy them for on Amazon Prime, because that cheaper price is more appealing. Sometimes people are willing to wait a little bit longer. And I say a little bit longer. We're in an age of instant gratification. I don't think many people are willing to wait for overseas shipping these days. And the closer you get to Black Friday, the closer you get to Christmas, it takes longer and longer and longer for items to get shipped to the US. And so, it might not be an issue if you're selling to people in China. But I mean, I feel like they have easy access to stuff anyway, so why would they even really be trying to buy it from some other random website? They could just buy it off AliExpress themselves. The AliExpress is one of the popular sites. There are other sites that you can source things from. Um, and it's kind of hard. It's just, there's a little bit of a challenge to it. It's easy to get pumped up watching videos of people online saying that they're making like, again, it's definitely one of those fields where people say that they make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, millions a year, thousands of dollars a month, thousands of dollars a day. One thing that a lot of people don't mention too is the difference between revenue and profit. You know, I can make, you know, if I'm selling a $10 item and I sell, 30 of them, I can say, I can legit say, my store just made $300 in the last hour. I could say that if that was what happened, that I sold 30 items in 1 hour. I could say that my store made $300 in 1 hour. I could say that. And I could clickbait a video saying, make $300 an hour with my Shopify method. Now, I might have only done that once, and I might have made $300, and it might have been revenue. It might not have been profit. You can sell $300 worth of stuff, but after your expenses, so usually when you're buying something on AliExpress, there's going to be an expense for just buying the item because you have to basically buy it and then get it shipped to a specific person who bought it from your store. So you have that cost. So from that $10, say the item was $2 on AliExpress. Okay. Say the shipping, let's say the shipping is $5. I don't know, you're losing a lot of money at this point. If the shipping's $5, um that's $7 now. And you know, Shopify on your store probably takes a cut for every sale you make. Let's say they take another dollar. That's $8 that you're already having taken. And let's say all the taxes included. Let's not make it way more complicated than that. What a lot of these clickbaiters aren't going to tell you is, they're profiting $2 off of each item. So they sold 30 items for a $2 profit. They really made a $60 profit, but they sold $300 worth. You see what I'm saying? So the profit after all the expenses, because it's not pure profit. Another expense that you have if you use if you use Shopify, when you first start using Shopify, you're paying $3 a month for the store. usually, unless that deal goes away, because it could go away at any time. But as far as I know, it's remained. If you have a brand new Shopify store, it's going to be $1 a month. So you're already paying out of pocket $1 at least to open the store. Your your payment gateway is gonna take money from you every time. All these payment gateways, these digital payment gateways, guys, be careful. They take a cut. It's just like when you transfer money from your Venmo or from your PayPal. They take a cut, right? It's the same thing. Um and I think I mentioned earlier too, the domain name. You need a store name. Now you can do this without having a domain name and name your store something like whatever you're selling. Let's say you're selling workout supplies or whatever, and you call it fitness.shopify.com. Now, that store isn't going to look in the eyes of your customers to have as good authority as if you bought fitness.com or cheapfitness.com or affordablefitness.com or whatever the heck, if you bought a .com. You can buy them off GoDaddy or Namecheap or any of those kind of domain purchasing sites. You want to be careful. Make sure you know how much it's going to cost you, because they will upsell you without you even knowing it. They list on there, oh, it's going to be $1. This domain name is $1. But they say $1, and then the fine print says for the first year, and then it's $21.99 for the next 2 years. So you're not paying $1. You're paying like $22 plus $22 plus $1. You're paying like $45. And then they add the fees and the tax and all that kind of stuff. And then they try to add more stuff to it, just some kind of website theme and, domain protection and, an email address and all these other things. You're adding like so much stuff that something that was supposed to cost you $1 costs you God only knows how much. Now, one option you do have, I know with GoDaddy, I'm familiar with GoDaddy. I'm not too familiar with all the other sites anymore. I've used them before, but it's been years ago, and sometimes when you put something down and then you come back to it, everything's different. So I don't even want to speak to those. But GoDaddy.com, I hate the name. I hate the name of the site, but it's called GoDaddy.com. But basically, GoDaddy.com, it has um it you know um usually it has an option where you can just purchase the first year, so you don't have to pay all that like $45 at once. You can maybe pay for the first year, it might be like $12.99 if you just pay the first year. But you got to make sure, check what you're buying, click off the extra tabs of stuff. um it's tricky. Sometimes you think you're spending a certain amount of money and then all of a sudden you're spending all this money. You don't want to get like too overly hyped up about it, because if you think about it, something that you're supposed to try to make money with, you're trying to make money with your store. Now all of a sudden you might have spent $45 and then another extra dollar for Shopify, and then you're trying to sell stuff and you're coming out of pocket. Depending how you set things up, you might be coming out of pocket. Now a lot of times Shopify has apps. So once you set up your store's theme, Shopify has apps. And you can use the apps to run your store better. So they have apps where you can use them for free, or they have paid apps, and you can basically connect your Shopify store to AliExpress or one of those sites where people usually drop ship the products off of. So, if I didn't explain it already, drop shipping is basically you post items on your store and wait for someone to purchase it. And when somebody purchases it, you go to the store and buy it and get it shipped to them with the money that they already sent you. And this is like a whole ordeal because depending which payment gateway you choose for your Shopify store, Shopify or PayPal or whatever, I had a lot of trouble with PayPal. PayPal can hold your money for up to 180 days. That's like half of the year. Now, imagine if you do have a cool scenario where, you sell $30 worth of or $300 worth of stuff, you know, in one sitting. You spend $300 of your own money, because the money that your customers are paying, PayPal holds it. So that means you can't then turn around and take that money from PayPal and pay AliExpress to send that item to the customer who bought it off of your store. You have to use your own money. So you got to make sure, you got to start small and make sure everything kind of works out little by little. You know, you don't want to go all in gung ho and start selling all this stuff and then turn around and be like, oh, dang, I can't afford this because, they're holding all my money. So now I have to pay out of pocket and I don't have money out of pocket. Maybe you had a $150 budget, which is a decent budget to get started. But it's easy to lose $150 within a week, within a couple days with starting these online stores. Because, like I mentioned, it gets expensive. Like after the 3 months, if you don't pay for the yearly fee for Shopify at the moment, without the like advanced versions, it's $29.99 billed annually. I don't even know what that number is, but it's a lot. It's like 360 something bucks all at once. Or you can pay more, but pay monthly, which is $39.99. So you're paying basically $40 a month. Um, you know, times 12, which is, it's just about $480 a month. I mean, a year by the end of the year. But you're billed monthly if you pay $39.99 versus paying up front the almost 360 something bucks. And that's like before taxes and all that. No, wait, is it? No, no, that's taxes and fees included. It's taxes and fees included. Yeah, yes, taxes and fees included. It's a flat fee. Um, and then, so yeah, so by month 4, if you haven't made back whatever amount that you've paid for your domain name, whatever amount you've paid for the Shopify store to be open, like say you're lucky and you have the $3 that you spent for the first 3 months, and then the fourth month you're spending like $40 or something, you're kind of 40, you're kind of like 44, 43 or so bucks just for Shopify, and then usually you're going to pay at least a few bucks for your at least 1 year of your domain name. So let's say even if it is like 12 bucks for your domain name, you're already, what number were we at? 44, 43, 43, 43 and 12. Um so like 55 bucks. So 55 bucks after 4 months. Have you made that amount of money? That's kind of what you want to look at first. If you've already opened a Shopify store before and you're like reopening one, you're not going to get that $1 a month for the first 3 months. You're going to have to pay just straight up $39.99 or get an annual plan or get some other plan that's like more expensive. Um, so it's not completely free to start these stores. Now, if you don't, you could cut corners. And I don't know how that works out because the thing is, if you're trying to rank a site, if you're trying to, um, yeah, if you're trying to rank a site on Google, if you're trying to drive traffic to a site, and, you know, I mean, there is something called domain authority, but I'm not talking about domain authority like through Google. I'm talking about like just the authority of your website. Like, when was the last time you bought something off of a site that wasn't a .com? Like, do you even buy stuff off of like Shopify.com's, like if it's like fitness.shopify.com? Because they give you a free domain name, but it's a weird name because it has the name of the company in it. Like anything that you buy, if it was like Magic the Gathering, magicthegathering.shopify.com, most people aren't going to buy that, buy off of there. It doesn't sound like a trusted site. Like most people are used to like the .coms. I really don't know how those other sites perform. There have been people that mention you don't need to pay and you can do this for free completely, and that's the method that they use to do it completely for free. They don't buy the domain name. And so I don't know how that works, but you still have to pay the fee for having a Shopify store. So I feel like you might as well pay the few extra bucks for the domain name. If you can't afford it, go drive some Uber Eats real quick. Go get that money for the day, and then you can use that money. It's a form of an investment. Your goal is to make more than you spend. That's the first goal. Make more than you spend, even if it's a couple bucks. Like I mentioned, you might be profitable only $2 per item, or $5 per item, or $10 per item, or $15 per item, you know, and you might not be selling a whole lot, but if you're profitable, right? If you're losing money, like once you get to the point that you're paying like $40 a month to keep your store open and you're not making $40 a month, you're basically losing money. Because like I mentioned, like, you know, keeping a store open for like a year is somewhere between 360 and 480 bucks a year. Plus whatever you paid for your domain name. If you didn't buy it for the 3 years, you're gonna have to renew that domain name every year. And usually, GoDaddy's gonna warn you like months in advance, hey, it's coming due, it's coming due. So you're usually not gonna lose your domain name. Like you'll have enough time to kind of like prepare to pay for it again. But if you didn't pay that initial $21.99, you know, for 3 months or whatever for your domain name early, if it said $1 and then the 22 and 22, so if it's like $1 and then an extra 44 bucks, if you didn't pay that, when the second month rolls around, they're going to charge you whatever they want to charge you for your domain name. It can be 30 bucks, it could be 40 bucks, 60 bucks, and you've already got your store open, you're already using the domain name. One thing I've noticed that I think GoDaddy does, I don't think it's other people. This is my conspiracy theory. I think the staff at GoDaddy buys sites that you try to buy. Like if you've added something to your cart a couple times, um, sometimes I've noticed, it just disappears. It's like, oh, it's not there anymore. It's no longer available all of a sudden for some weird reason. And then you have to go through a brokerage, which is $69.99, and then plus commissions if they're able to get it back for you. So you're paying over $70 to get a domain name that you just saw online for like 10 bucks or something. So it's a little weird. Sometimes I don't really know how to make sense of it. Um this isn't the site that I usually talk about this kind of stuff on. I have a project. Um I have a failed project that I've posted on Game and Compute, on my podcast there. If you go over to gamingcompute.com and the podcast is there, there's some episodes from summer where I had posted about um, the Shopify project, trying to make a profit off of it using the Biaheza course. His course was like $295 or something. And I would say what I learned from that course was a lot of value. I learned how to choose a product. Now, I basically ran up a store using his product that he had already used. And by now, this is like a year or two later, that product is a little obsolete because they've made better versions. It's no longer like a trendy product. Um it's a beauty kind of technology and device, and it's just not um something that is easy to sell. Like before, I used to look it up and I would see it online and other places. I would see people selling it on Amazon. I'd see people selling it in other places. And now when I look, nobody's really selling it. So I've seen like maybe two stores on Amazon selling it, whereas they used to sell it between like 35 and $55. Now it's like less than $25. So it's gone down in value, and that was the product that I know was a winning product, but now I don't think it's a winning product anymore. And I basically based all of my ad creation, because I had to make the ad myself. I did pay somebody to make an ad too. That did not turn out good. My ad was better than theirs, and I'm not that great with I'm not like, I don't like video editing. With podcasts, I don't like editing. I'm not really that into editing too much. Like I can get in a groove of it and I'm like, "Oh, I'm like into this." And then sometimes, usually I'm not that into it, but sometimes I can get a little bit into it. Um but yeah, I had it, and I just don't think, you know, um I don't think that product was ideal. Mostly people were looking at it, so I used TikTok ads and paid for TikTok ad spend at, like, it was a cheap amount. I paid like $5. Now, that $5, I can tell you what that $5 got me. It got me a lot of views on TikTok. It got me a lot of people clicking on my ad. A lot of people clicked over to the store. And even still, from that point, I was getting about, just for like almost a year or so, I just let it run. Um, was it a year? It was like for maybe like for a while, for like months, I was getting like 30 or so customers a month. Like about, not a month. I was getting like 30 customers a day to the store. Through that one ad. So it was $5 well spent. I think it was $5 ad spend for 5 days or 7 days or something like that. I ran the ad that I created myself. I basically made like a 30-second clip of the item being used, and some captions on there, and people clicked, people liked it. It got up to about 5,000 views or something. And so the account was good, the item was good as far as people interested in it, but there weren't conversions. There weren't conversions to purchases. So something was wrong, right? So if something's being viewed and then people are still coming to the store on a regular basis, but they're not buying anything, something's wrong. So it's either the item isn't good enough, or none of the items on the store are good enough, or my speculation was the times of drop shipping from, China, for it to be almost like 2 weeks at those prices. Nobody wants to wait 2 weeks. Because it wasn't competitive with Amazon. It's like, well, why would I buy this over here from you for $25 when I could buy it on Amazon for $35 and get it like immediately? Versus waiting like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So you kind of have to play with things sometimes and figure out, what is it that's gonna actually work. Um, Now if you don't want to go that route and make like a whole .com through Shopify, there are other sites that people say they use that are completely free. Um, I just don't know how that works. If you don't have a .com, this not with like the company's name on it, not your company, but like the website that's running your website. Um, if it's not just like a straight up .com, I don't really know if that impacts conversions. I really can't say for sure, but I would just say I have not really seen a lot of stores where people just keep the .shopify.com extension. I have not seen a lot of stores like that where people are going to take it seriously. And I don't know why, like, but I just think it's one of those things. You get used to seeing just whatever the name is .com, and if you see .shopify.com, it's kind of like, well, why didn't they just pay for a domain name? You kind of got to question it. It's like, why didn't they pay for it? It's kind of like weird to not pay for a domain name. And so it's kind of just how the game works. Um but yeah, my experience was good. It was just, there are some things that, I would say if I had the time and energy to kind of tweak those things, that was going to be my next phase. Now I have made sales on eBay and OfferUp. I think I've talked about those before, but that's another method where you just don't have to deal with all the other hassles. You don't have to have your own like online baby kind of store, and it's not like as glamorous or as creative or as like extra fun, but it's like sometimes sales are sales. So if you're able to still source stuff and post it up on eBay and just sell it, um, you'll probably be able to kind of bypass all those other expenses that I mentioned. Like you don't need, a domain name to use eBay. You don't need anything to use eBay. You just need a solid account email. Um, but an OfferUp's kind of the same way. You don't really need much on there. Um, but you know, it's hard. It's not the easiest thing, but if you can figure it out, you can make sales. Um, One method that I think seems like a good method, even though it seems like it would be more stressful because you can't really constantly predict and scale up long term. But I think short term you could just do trending products, so different kind of toys and things that have like a shock value to them, like especially if you think of like TikTok ads where you like, remember those things that you used to see on TikTok with people throwing those little balls on the ceiling or on the wall or whatever, and they would glow in the dark, and it was like a relaxation thing, and you could just lay on your bed and throw them up on the ceiling, and then they kind of like slowly fall back down, and then you just pick them up, throw them back up there. And I don't remember the name of those, but for a while those were kind of popular. They're the kind of item that you can make like an ad or a video about. You could keep making videos about them every few days, keep posting that, keep getting organic traffic. Like it's a TikTok-ish kind of item. So that's one thing that could get you sales is having like a TikTok type of item, something that does well on TikTok, that captures attention on TikTok, that drives traffic on TikTok. That's not the worst idea. But if you think about these types of things like fidget spinners and all that kind of stuff, it's like they become unpopular within like a while, a small amount of time, and then everyone else also catches on, and then you're competing with like the whole world for the same item that you might have been able to sell for like 15 bucks, that you can get fidget spinners for like $2 at like a 7-Eleven now. But before, it's like there was a time when they were popular, but you couldn't really buy them everywhere. So if you can't find it at Walmart, if you can't find it at like a 7-Eleven, then it's probably something that you could possibly work with and buy. And if it's not like saturated all over Amazon, I mean, think about it. When you buy certain stuff on Amazon, right? Like how often do you go on Amazon, Amazon Prime? You go on there, you're like, okay, I'm gonna buy this item. Say it's a fidget spinner. I don't know. I can't think of anything else right now. But say you're buying a fidget spinner, and say there's a $5 fidget spinner. You want the one that has the camouflage, you know, the camouflage colors on it because you're buying it for a military friend or something. And then you see others that have different designs. Some of them glow in the dark. Some of them are whatever. And say they're all $5. Like you're going to be looking at things, like okay, it might be some of them might be 4.95, some of them might be 4.50, some of them might be 5.50. But if you see them for like $25, you're probably not going to buy any of those, right? Because they're like 5 times the cost. If you see them for like 1.99 or something, you're going to be a little suspicious. Like, why is this one so much cheaper? Usually what you're going to do is you're going to compare the prices. You're going to compare how long does it take to get to me. Like usually the 25 or 50 cents or whatever isn't going to matter to you too much if they're all going to get there pretty much around the same time. Now today's November 1st. If some of them say they'll get to you by November 5th, but wait, maybe they're like way cheaper, like the 1.99 ones or 2.99, maybe they don't get to you till November 5th. And today's November 1st. And so, yeah, it's cheaper, but it takes longer. And then say the other ones are all pretty much you could get it either overnight or by the next day by 10 p.m. or whatever, the typical Amazon Prime thing. So there's not really a lot of competition with the shipping for the most part. For the most part, with the pricing, there's not that much competition. Um, so basically with the designs or other kind of features, maybe people sell accessories for them, like a little pouch where you can carry it around in your pocket or something. I don't know. I don't know what kind of accessories you could sell for like a fidget spinner, but you just think about it like that. When you shop for something on Amazon, what makes you pick one versus the other? You might look at the reviews on the cheapest ones and be like, oh, they said it actually takes longer than November 5th. It actually takes till November 10th. Everyone's saying, oh, it actually takes 10 days, not 5 days. You're going to be like, shoot, I don't want to spend, it doesn't matter if it's $2 or $3 for that item. You're not going to want to buy it anymore. You'd probably rather spend the extra $2. You just get it overnight. And so now you're not even looking at the cheaper one anymore because it's going to take too long. Now you're looking at all the other ones. So you're probably going to look for reviews and you're probably going to see which one has the best reviews, how many stars. If you see that two of them only have like 2 stars, you're probably not going to buy those even if they are like 4.50 instead of like 5.50, right? Like this is how we shop, right? I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. Like usually, unless you're in like that big of a rush, but usually when you go online to buy something, you're like, oh, here it is. And then you look and you see a bunch of the same ones because that's common now. You see a bunch of the same stuff on Amazon Prime. They're all branded with different names. They have like weird names sometimes because people brand it with their own little company label. And then they're all selling the same stuff within a few cents different of each other. And you just get to pick one. Like, do you pick the one because of the colors? Do you pick the one because, oh, this is a fidget mini fidget spinner, or this is like a giant fidget spinner or something? How do you pick them? You have a process in your mind, right? So you got to think like that. Your customers are going to think the same way. Your customers are going to have a process in their mind that they're going through that's going to make them decide instantly once they go from TikTok, like they go down that funnel, they're like, ooh, intrigued. I see this thing pop up and this is what I kind of want. I want this beauty device. I click on it. It, to watch the ad. The ad looks cool. It looks good. Okay, let me go over to the website. I go over to the website. There's something on the website that makes it so somebody's not buying it. Either they're not impressed with, I mean, you definitely got to make sure there's not a lot of typos. They might not be impressed with the wording. They might not be impressed with the shipping. Now, let me ask you a question. In this day and age, when everybody's trying to save a buck and everybody's trying to make a buck, right? Nobody's got money to just like, well, some people do, but most of us aren't trying to just blow our money with the economy as it is, right? So why would somebody buy something off of my store for $25 when they could go to AliExpress and get it for $5 in the same amount of time, right? If it's going to take 2 weeks for something to get to them and they can tell, oh, you're getting it from AliExpress, they can just go to freaking AliExpress and get the stupid thing themselves. Why would they go to my site, right? So you got to think about that. I think a lot of times shipping times with these China stores, shipping times can be maybe not the easiest thing to have to deal with. Now, you can source things from other sites like Amazon Prime or Walmart or something like that, but then they're going to be marked up from AliExpress because everybody's buying stuff from China basically and reselling it at a higher price. So you can find the lower priced item, but then you're going to also have to deal with shipping. That's going to be a cost. You're going to also have to pay like extra fees and then tax on top of that. Like, you're selling stuff, so if you're making a profit of any kind, you're getting taxed on this stuff. On the back end, you're going to get taxed, once tax season rolls around. And so you got to think of all these little expenses, right? Is it going to be worth it? So that's why I mentioned earlier, sometimes it might be in your best interest just to buy a freaking thing, buy it on, Amazon or whatever, make your little ad off of it, try to sell the stuff, try to sell it off of, just try to make sales. And, you really got to pay attention to the times. You got to test out stuff, see if it's going to sell. If it is going to sell, now you got to buy it and hope that it sells. Like, there's a whole process that you have to test out where you're trying not to spend more money than you make. But in the beginning, you might be spending money. So that's just kind of what I wanted to mention on here. Is it possible to make money selling stuff online? Yes, it is. Is it easy? No. The reason why it's not easy is because you have a lot of competition. You have to deal with the shipping. That can be an issue because you can buy stuff for cheap. You can get stuff for like a few dollars, and it might even be really good quality. You can get it for just a few bucks because all these stores do it. Best Buy does it. Walmart does it. Like, how much stuff do we actually buy that's even made in the US? There's not that much stuff that's made here. So when you think about it, all these companies are buying stuff from China. But the thing is, that's different is they have relationships. They have major companies. Some of these places are big companies. They probably have people that can get them stuff faster from China. They probably have people that can, you know, talk to them. They travel. They have probably people who work for their companies that travel, source products, build relationships in China, you know. So them, Walmart versus my little store online, Walmart's going to be able to get stuff a lot faster. You know, they've got the money to spend to ship it super fast. You know, it's hard to like do this stuff when you either don't have the money or don't have the know-how because there is a steep learning curve. Um, my whole theory, I don't know if this is accurate, but I think it's accurate. My whole theory is if you can't sell it on eBay, you probably can't sell it anywhere. Um, eBay has organic traffic you don't usually have to promote. You can promote, you don't have to. But if you can't sell it on eBay, it's, you know, because that's like bare minimum. All you got to do is post up pictures and put like an explanation on eBay. You don't usually have to put too much more than that. So if you can't sell something on eBay, are you really selling it? Are you really going to sell it elsewhere? Um, eBay takes away a lot of the other fee problems. Like you're not paying for a domain name, you're not paying for a store, to stay open. They do have their fees. You do end up paying the stupid fees for all the stuff. But eBay is a whole different beast. So, OfferUp is cool if you don't mind, meeting people in person. Sometimes OfferUp is kind of cool. You can sell stuff, people can come to you, so that gets the shipping out of the way. But sometimes they don't buy. So, depending what you're selling, if your customers are coming to your house or coming to like a place where you post up and they're buying stuff from you in person, they might not have, they might not want to buy from you. Uh, Once they see the item or once they get there, they might try to lowball you. People like to haggle and they'll be like, oh, I know you posted it for like $25, but would you take like 15? You know, and in person, they just try to take advantage and they're trying to save a buck. They didn't have this conversation with you before. They just tried to schedule to come over. And now that they're there, they're like, well, let me try to get it for cheaper. That wasn't the deal. But it's like sometimes you have to consider, are they just going to walk away? You know? So it's kind of hard to know. It's kind of hard to know what's going to happen there. Um, but I don't know. You can kind of make up your own mind on it. Um, I just want to be honest, it's not the easiest thing. You do kind of have to test products, test different products. Um, it does help to have money to spend for traffic and ads to promote your ads and stuff. Um, you can use different platforms. People usually, I think standard people usually recommend Instagram and Facebook. I personally feel like TikTok is easiest. Maybe I'm wrong in that, but I feel like just the way people scroll on TikTok, it's easier just to have something that people can just look at. If they want it, they can buy it right off of TikTok. You have that option to set up your ad like that so that people can purchase it right off of your website. Um, you got to see your accounts. So if you're brand new and you're opening like a Facebook and an Instagram and a TikTok, you can't just all of a sudden run up an ad and start like posting. That usually doesn't do good for your traffic. You got to wait a couple days and just like use the site lightly. and then kind of wait to be able to use it. That usually works better. Um, but yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy to make this kind of stuff work. But if you're gonna make it work, this is the best time of year because people are just gonna start buying stuff like crazy in November and December. Um, Once these months kind of pass, unless you're in a niche where people are like, it's like winter sports or something where it's like people are gonna still be engaging with it, you know, you're gonna possibly see a dip in traffic. Now people get holiday money too, so you got to keep that in mind. People get holiday money, so people might want to spend their holiday money um, on buying stuff. But there is kind of this window this time of year that if you're gonna try this kind of stuff, this is the best time to try it. Unless you have like a specific niche where you're like surfing or something that's like summer, like I mentioned before, golf or fishing gear and stuff like that, like camping. There's a lot of kind of like outdoorsy stuff that does really well. But some of it's seasonal. So you got to think about that too. But, if somebody does do a lot of like hunting and camping and fishing and stuff like that, even if it's off season, people might still buy gifts for people. Um, and so, yeah, it's kind of it's exciting, but it can be hard. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh, you can do it. It's easy. Like, I'd recommend check out my project of like on gameandcompute.com. Check it out. Um, the project's listed on there from earlier this summer, and you can kind of see the process I went through. Um, like I mentioned, it wasn't profitable, but it was a learning experience. I spent some, but I got enough traffic to be happy with the situation. Um, I was pleased that I got some movement. I didn't get conversions into sales, but I got something. Now, I would have been really worried if I didn't get anything like no engagement, no clicks, like nothing was increasing on TikTok. Um and sometimes you can increase just organically. Like if you have an ad that is something popular enough that people want to see or know more about or just captures people's attention, you might have people watching your stuff and going to your store, and you might get like 3,000 views, 4,000 views, just from that alone. You might get multiple thousands of views every day, and if you're posting like 2 3 times a day, you might get thousands of views. And so, yeah, think about these things. Think about how much you have to spend if you want to spend anything. If you don't want to spend anything, really, I'd recommend starting at like eBay. Etsy can be good too, but I don't know about success rates with Etsy. I've honestly heard people say a lot of stuff about Etsy, saying that, oh, like I never got any sales on there. But a lot of times these are people that don't have like unique products that they're making. They're trying to use like print on demand. And unless you're trending something with print on demand, like Halloween shirts or Thanksgiving shirts or some kind of mugs that are like, you know, a pumpkin spice latte mug or something, like, unless you're trending some kind of like thing, some kind of theme, I think it's going to be hard to get, um, to attract customers to an Etsy store. I feel like the ones that are best are like digital products that people make, or handmade, products that you can't just like make. Like, the thing about print on demand is your customers can make print on demand for themselves. Like, if I want to make a t-shirt, I could basically screenshot your t-shirt, copy the picture, put it up on my own, print on demand, and ship it to myself. Technically I could do that. So it's like, why would I buy it for more from someone else's store when I can make it myself real quick for a few bucks cheaper, especially if it's not like a branded thing. These are things to just think about. Um, is it possible to make money? Yes. Is it easy? No. It takes a lot of testing. It takes a lot of patience. It might take a little bit of money. It doesn't have to take money, but money can kind of speed up your process. If you're trying to get more traffic, more eyes, more traffic can equal more sales, but it doesn't always. Um, and don't give in to all the clickbait with people saying that they're making like, $3,000 an hour or something. It's like, maybe they did once or whatever, but you know, um, it's a slow game. It's a slow game. So if you're gonna start, I'd say start soon. Try it out. Try multiple platforms if you have to, and try to learn as much as you can as fast as possible. It's not that easy. There's gonna be a lot of competition this year because a lot of people are trying to make money online because you don't end up spending gas or driving around or calling people and all that kind of stuff. So I'll post more about this, but hopefully this is helpful.